Hi there, today I'm going to talk about the SR81 solar controller. The whole purpose of the controller is to efficiently heat your geyser using obviously your solar panel and the sun to heat your geyser, so you don't have to spend money on the geyser element turning on. However, it's also important to know when the geyser element turns on so that you have hot water in specific times. So to start with, I'm just going to go through some of the buttons on the screen here. I don't know if you can get closer. So first of all, if you look on the top left, you see there's a T1. T1 is your panel temperature. If you look at R1, which is currently flashing there, that's your circulation pump. So when it flashes, that obviously means the pump's on. Then you've got T2 over there, which is your geyser temperature. And then this circle here is actually meant to be your geyser, and the actual circle inside, that's the element. So when that's flashing, that's on. And then you've got your time and your temperature. If you press the adjust buttons or adjust up T1, that'll tell you your panel temperature, and if you press plus one again, then you get to T2, which is your geyser temperature. So it's important to know those two temperatures because you can tell if the system's working or not by looking at those temperatures. Then the important things to know is how the system works. So what happens is when the panel temperature is 8 degrees hotter than your geyser temperature, then the circulation pump turns on. So that's how it works. And it does this on and off throughout the day, and at the end of the day, hopefully you've got hot water. And generally in summer, you'll have hot water at the end of the day every day. And in winter, like from about April, it starts getting a bit colder, so then you need to make sure your elements are turned on. So to start with, we first got to make sure your time is correct, because for the time needs to be obviously correct so your element turns on at the right time. So to set the time, there's a clock button over here. So my time is currently incorrect. The actual time is 12:08. So if I press the clock and then the hour hand flashes and I move it to 12, pressing the up button, and then I press clock again and it goes to the minute hand, and then I go down like that to the minute, and then I press clock again. So that sets that. Okay. Then the other important thing is to set the element, obviously, to turn on at the right times. So to do that, first of all, just make sure you're back at the main screen, which is if you press the escape button as many times as you want, you go back to the main screen. Then you press set twice, and you press the plus button twice. So to set that means TH10 means timer 1 on. Okay, so that's when it will turn on in the morning. I've got mine set to turn on at 4:30. If I wanted to change that, I press the set button, it changes the minute up or down. I press the set button again, it changes the hour. And then if I press the set button again, it actually gets to temperature. So that's with timer 1 on, that means the element will turn on if the temperature is below this temperature. When you get to the off temperature, that's your set temperature. So when it reaches that temperature, it'll turn off. So there's two different temperature settings. The first one is the element will turn on if it's below this temperature, and the second one is it will turn off if it reaches this temperature. So again, you press the up or down button to save that temperature, to change the temperature, and then escape to actually save it. Okay. Then when nothing is flashing, if you press the plus button, it'll take you to timer 1 off, and then you again change the times by going set, up or down, set, up or down, set to set that's your maximum temperature that it'll reach, and then escape to save it. Then you press, when nothing's flashing, you press up to go to the timer 2 on and plus to timer 2 on and off. And then there's 3 different ones in total. So the third one, again, you set that by pressing the plus button and set as I did earlier. So those are the 3 different times. Generally, you want to set your geyser element to turn on very early in the morning and turn off before the first person showers. Then in the afternoon, you want to obviously set it as late as possible so that the sun can heat. You generally don't have a time in the middle of the day, because if the geyser heats it up in the middle of the day, you're pretty much wasting the sun, because the sun can heat the whole day. So if you set it to run from 10 to 11, if it's going to heat up by 11, then the sun can't do anything later on, just overheat the geyser. So the other thing is just to have a look on this screen here what the different buttons mean. So there's an eco mode bottom left, which is quite a handy button. If you press that, you'll see there's a green leaf on the screen that comes in there, or a leaf, not a green leaf. So what that means is it turns off the elements completely. So we use that over the whole of summer. So we press that button, the elements won't come on at all. So those times we set the elements, those deactivate, and then you're just running off the sun. So you have a zero electricity bill on hot water. So that's your green leaf. To get rid of it, you literally just press eco mode again. Okay, then there's holiday mode, which is this button here. If you press it once, sorry, you have to hold it in actually. You hold it in for 5 seconds. Then it says H day, holiday, and then you can put in how many days you're going away for. And then if you press, by pressing the up or down, and then if you press the holiday mode, you see there's a suitcase there. So the difference with this one and the eco mode is it also turns off the elements completely, but it also circulates turns on the circulation pump at night time to circulate that hot water from your geyser into your solar panel, and it cools the geyser down at night time because obviously there's no sun. So then the next day it doesn't overheat. So that is a good option if you go away on holiday. But what I would actually do if you're going away for an extended period, I would actually turn off your mains water and then turn off the system completely just at your distribution board by turning it off. The reason for that is if you have a leak or something and you're away, there's nothing there to stop the water running. So most people turn off their mains, but it's very important to turn off your solar system as well, because the pump could run dry if there's no water in the system. So then you'd have to buy a new pump. So rather turn it off. Then the other one here is manual heating. So I'm just getting rid of the holiday mode. So the other one is manual heating. What that does is if you press it once, that you see there's a set temperature, which we normally set it to 55. And then if you press it twice, you'll see, our geyser is already at temperature, so it's not heating now. But what I'm going to do is just make it hotter so that you can see what it does. So what it does now is there's a hand that shows, so that means it's on manual heating, and then you'll see the element is flashing there now. So it'll heat until it reaches that set temperature, which is 66, I think I set it to. So it'll heat until 66 and then turn off. So this is quite a nice option if you're, you want to save as much money as possible, and you have it on that eco mode. And then if the water's a bit cold, you can press that manual heating and just heat it up once, and you don't have to. It's not going to turn on again and again and again. So you're just spending money now heating that manual heating. To turn it off, obviously I said it either reaches temperature and turns off, or if you've had a shower and the water's been hot and you jump out and you don't want it heating still, you then press it once and it turns off. So that's pretty much the eco mode. Just the controller. One other thing to take into consideration, when the geyser reaches 70 degrees, so that's your T2, so the T2 panel, T2 button on here. When it reaches 70 degrees, the actual circulation pump turns off. So this is more in the middle of summer when you get really hot days. So the circulation pump becomes deactivated because it doesn't want to heat the geyser up too much. And then your panel temperature can get really, really hot, and then you'll see a warning sign on the screen. So don't worry about that. It's a safety thing. So the geyser doesn't want to get too hot, so it's turned off the pump. So that's just a warning thing. I've also seen during load shedding, obviously the system goes down, but now your panel gets really, really hot. And when the system comes back on again, there's also often a warning sign. What that means is that the panel temperature is too hot, and it doesn't want to turn on the circulation pump because your panel is too hot. So in the evening the panel will cool down, then everything will go back to normal. So it's just something those are the error signs. And another important thing, just to make sure your geyser's working, your solar's working properly, is if you look at the two temperatures, T1 and T2. So what I often do once a week, I'll come here and I'll just quickly flick the adjust up and down button. So T1 is currently 63 and T2 is 58. So they're quite close to each other. That's obviously during the daytime. So I know my system's working well because they're within a certain temp, they're within 8 degrees. If there's a big differential, let's say the one is 30 degrees, the geyser temperature, and the panel temperature is 100, and there's no warning sign, but it looks like the pump's meant to be running, the pump is flashing, then there's no circulation taking place because the panel temperature is not dropping in temperature. So then you know there's a problem. So that's one way of making sure your solar is working well, because often you won't actually know, because the geysers will turn on, you know, in the evening and in the morning, so you'll still have hot water, but you're actually not saving anything because the solar is not working. So it's important to just keep an eye on that. And then another thing is at night time, the T1, your panel temperature, should always be you know what the ambient temperature is outside, plus maybe 10 degrees, because the sensor's in a little pocket in the panel. But you don't want your outside panel temperature the same temperature as your geyser, because then what's happening is there's water flowing between your geyser, because hot water rises, so hot water can rise from your geyser into the panel and actually keep circulating at night time and cool your whole system down. So that's called anti-siphon. It's called siphoning. So you actually lose all your heat. So if your two temperatures are the same, then you know you got a problem. So it's important to the outside temperature to be maybe 10 degrees hotter than the ambient temperature. Yeah, any other questions, just give Ecologic a shout. Thanks very much.